One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ladies Tale podcast. It is so good to be back recording for the Ladies Tale podcast.
It truly is. It truly is. All I'm gonna say, did you want to chip one out?
No, why would I want a chip? I'm on a diet.
You on a diet? You on a diet?
Have you even seen me eat chips?
I have. Literally 30 seconds ago, I had to take my chip from my best friend. I'm Jade.
And I'm Winona. Oh, we remember to introduce ourselves.
High five.
Social distance style.
I remember to introduce us. I just wanted to let you know. I'm on point.
My
today.
Narcissism said that I remember because you're part of me. I love it. Oh.
And yet I didn't get to have like any chips. So again, I don't think so. Because I mean, she was eating these chips like they was like the best thing since sliced bread.
They were.
She was over here just
considering that I haven't eaten sliced bread in so long. They were.
Really? Okay, that's
moving on.
Anyway, we wrote literary life guides with pop poetry. Yeah, because sometimes we have wise things to say, y'all.
Only on the pages of books.
Yeah. All right. So, and I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons, and I thought being grown up was easy. If only I would be a memoir and verse, Riddles web series, and the Foreign Coffee, all available where you get your audiobooks, and soon to come on audiobooks. We're super excited. And I thought I did my journey alone. Why are you being like, you know, it's my favorite book, y'all. Y'all know it's my favorite book that we've written. I know we're not supposed to have favorites. Like, you're not supposed to have like a favorite child, but I think parents always have a favorite child. They just like secretly don't tell you. They probably get like $10 extra in their will or whatever, and then you'll finally know.
Anyway,
so my favorite book, and I thought I did soon to come out on audiobook, and you can find out everything your ladies are up to at www.andithoughladies.com.
But you're not here to hear about us.
Yeah, you're really not here to hear about us. You're here to hear from our wonderful guests.
Wonderful guests, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Sundstedt. I am considered the Madam of Comedy because I pimp out comedians, female comics, and I produce female comedy shows. I'm going to tell you two more things about myself. I have bipolar 1 disorder, so you're dealing with a mentally ill person right now. Don't worry, I'm medicated. I won't have an episode. And I love to gamble. I play blackjack and video poker, and I go crazy when I get into a casino.
Oh,
wow. Okay, so that's
my first question is, the next time we're in Vegas, are you coming? I like free drinks, and I need a person to gamble because I don't.
Well, I'll teach you.
No. I feel like the casino has done nothing to earn my money. They have enough.
Smart.
They should give me money. But I want someone to gamble so then I can be like, ooh,
well, no, really?
I'm the narcissist, for crying out loud. What did you expect?
I'll give you all my free drinks because I'm sober. I haven't had a drink in 15 years. So you can have all of mine.
Thank you.
See, now
I feel terrible.
Why?
You know that this is why you shouldn't have a narcissist moment at the beginning of a show.
Okay, let's move on. You said that you make female comedians.
Yes.
How did you come up with pretty funny women in order to make female comedians?
Well, what happened was it was 1995 and I was hanging out at the Hollywood Improv, trying to get some stage time. I was a brand new comedian, and I was talking to a producer, big time producer, and he said to me, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a comedian." And he goes, "Nah, you're too pretty to be funny." And I thought, thank you. I didn't know if that was a compliment or a slam. I couldn't figure it out, but I said, okay. And then I walked away and I said to my girlfriend, that guy just told me I was too pretty to be funny. And she goes, oh, screw him. And I go, yeah, but I kind of like the title Pretty Funny. Wouldn't that be cool if we all got together, our favorite female comics, we got all dressed up, did our hair and our makeup and wore heels and did our own show and called it Pretty Funny Women. So that was in 1996. And I have kept that show going ever since.
Wow.
Now, it used to be a showcase at the Hollywood Improv for 10 years in the early 2000s. And what I would do, because I have a keen eye for talent, is when I was just producing shows, this is before I was teaching, I would find women who I thought were going to be stars and I would put them on my show. So sometimes on one lineup, I would have Chelsea Handler, Maria Bamford, Natasha Leggero, Retta, Sherri Shepherd. I would have all these women on one bill.
Wow.
And the shows were phenomenal, and industry would come out and they would discover people, and a lot of those women got famous and I didn't.
How does that work? I thought the person who does it has to get famous too.
You know what?
I'm doing this wrong.
I think that when people see me on stage, they don't really consider me talent. They consider me the producer.
Oh.
And so I don't think they think of me in terms of I'm an actress and a comedian, and they don't approach me in that way because they see me running the whole thing. And I think it's been to my detriment.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
No, we're gonna stop doing things.
I know. No,
immediately.
No.
Just talent. No, I'm joking.
We're not.
That is such a lot.
You put on these really great shows, and so in the time of COVID, how did you pivot?
Well, COVID, the first month I was severely depressed because what happened is in 2019, I opened my own little comedy club on Melrose in Hollywood called Pretty Funny Women. It had 40 seats and it was a beautiful stage and a beautiful room. And I had shows and workshops and classes and open mics, all kinds of things went on in there. I opened it in May of 2019, and in March of 2020, pandemic hit. We were in lockdown. I had to close it. It was closed for 9 months. I was still paying for it, and it just drained me of all my money, and I had to give it up. But I learned how to teach on Zoom. So I had women from all over the world taking my classes. I had Germany, Australia, then some girls were from Florida and Northern California, and it was a blast. And all my classes were full and people were wanting something to do. So I learned technology, which I'm terrified of. And I taught like 3 classes a week on Zoom. So I was able to pay my bills.
Wow. Okay, see that, first of all, great job on the question. Love the pivot. Love what you did to actually pivot.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing.
So you're not just a comedian, right? You're also a writer. See, like on the show, we don't do segues. So we're just gonna it's gonna be like a wooden roller coaster ride. When it hits the turn, you just go boom. Yeah, that's exactly how these questions are gonna be. So you're a writer as well. You've written on Chelsea Handler's show and a few others. And you work for Nickelodeon. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, okay, so I wrote on the Chelsea Handler show, which was her first show on E! That nobody saw. And then she went to Chelsea Lately, and I wrote on the first season of that. I've written on some reality shows, come up with storylines for them, And then I produced a show called Parental Discretion with Stefanie Wilder-Taylor on, it was on Nick Mom, which no longer exists. So I'd be responsible for booking all the female moms and comedians and dads, and they would come on the show and do a panel and discuss motherhood, even though I don't have kids because I'm not a morning person.
That is the best reason I've heard.
That is the best.
And now all the other reasons have to slide down a space because number one is I'm not a morning person.
I'm not a morning person.
And children tend to wake up in the morning. They do.
Well, when you have kids, you have to get up early, like 9.
Yeah, that's too early.
9. Yeah,
when I wake up at 10 a.m., I'm at.
Yes. Why is it 10? Why am I awake? Look what's happening right now.
What is this evil hour?
That's true. One of the advantages of working for yourself, though, you can wake up at 10.
Yep. So, and I'm out at night producing shows at night. I teach stand-up comedy for women at night. I have probably 30 students right now, and I've taught thousands of women since 2006. And some of them are starting to break through right now.
Yes. Well, that is very exciting.
Maybe when to your
teaching.
Obviously. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are 3 tips to know if something is actually funny?
Because we write books and sometimes we need to be funny.
Well, if I were you, I would take some of that material that you have in your book and I would go to an open mic and I would riff with it and I would try it out on stage in front of a live audience. And if they laugh, then you know it's funny and you put it in your book and no one can tell you it's not funny because you already tried it.
Wow, that's amazing. Y'all, for all our authors out there, I hope you just wrote that tip down.
Yup. So what is it?
Number 2, she has 3 tips. That's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Second.
First tip is, yeah. And then second is, are you connected to your audience? Are you listening to them as much as you're talking? Because stand-up comedy is a conversation, right? The comic says something, then the audience says something. Hopefully it's a laugh. Sometimes it's a groan and sometimes it's silence, but that's still something. So if you're getting silence, you have to adjust your act and play towards that audience. And sometimes that audience is not your audience, but you have to figure out a way to make them laugh because that's your job. And then lastly, most women who take my class have been told their whole life they're funny. They've been making people laugh. They've been sarcastic or have little quips, or they do characters for their family, or they've been entertaining their siblings since childhood. So it's kind of it's a gift I believe you're born with, a sense of humor, but you can cultivate it and learn how to write jokes and put an act together and put it on stage. I think everybody benefits from stand-up comedy because it helps your confidence. It helps sales. It helps writing. It helps if you want to be a host or an actress or do voiceovers. It's the best background to have for anything you're pursuing.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much for these wonderful tips, y'all. So I'm definitely going to be trying out that first one for sure. Because we do have some books and we were like, is that funny or just strange? You know, like, are you just trying to figure that out? If that line between funny and strange. So thank you for that.
Strangely humorous.
I don't know.
What it is. It's our entire brand. Strangely humorous.
I don't know.
Not pretty funny women because we're not that pretty, but strangely humorous ladies.
You guys are adorable.
I mean, but I have another question because all these comedians that you see, they have written all of this material and now they have to deliver. How do you remember all of it?
Oh my goodness,
how do you just remember all all this material?
Well, some of my students write their notes on their hand. So they'll like go up on a line and they'll just look at their hand and have little bullet points. Some people bring notes on stage, but I've been doing it for so long. You know, in the very beginning, I used to record myself and then listen back all day long, just so that it would be ingrained in my brain, all those jokes. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm in menopause right now, so sometimes I forget what's going on. But you just have to riff and do improv and tell the audience the truth. You say, I'm sorry, I just forgot what I was talking about. And then you move on. Oh, that's my dog. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the world of Zoom. If we don't know about dogs and cats, like coming and interrupting, I don't know when we're gonna learn.
So what is it? Well, how is it a different set of skills to one deliver a whole comedic set, and then the other to actually write on a show? What's the difference between the writer's room and actually being on stage?
Oh, huge difference. Writer's room, you're given. Well, I've written on game shows too. You're given assignments. But for Chelsea lately, we sat in the writer's room. There was about 8 of us and then her, and we would read pop culture stories in the morning, or we would watch TV at night and come up with ideas and magazines, People Magazine, Gossip magazines, and we would just pitch her ideas. We would just say, what do you think about this? And then we'd pitch her jokes and she would punch it up and say, yeah, that's great, let's keep it. It would literally take 2 to 3 hours to do a 2-minute monologue. It's a lot. It's very, very hard work to write, hone it, edit it, try it, and deliver it. But so writing on a TV show is like more like collaborative. You have a lot of other people to bounce stuff off of. Whereas stand up for yourself, you spend a lot of time alone, and then you have to try it on stage at an open mic. But for what I did with Chelsea, because she was such a funny person, Chelsea was being funny all day long. I would follow her around and just write down stuff that came out of her mouth. And I would hand it to her and go, try this on stage. And then she would try it. And a lot of times it would work because it was organic. It came right from her mouth. That's one of the first exercises I give my class. I say, I want you to pay attention to every time you make people laugh on your own. If you say something in a group of people and they laugh, you just wrote a joke. So you need to write it down. And you got to write everything down because most people think they're going to remember it and they don't.
No, it never happens.
You never have to explain that to a writer.
Yeah, take that from some authors. Write everything down. Like put it in your phone. I don't care if you have to have a little like back of junk mail. Do something. Write it down because trust me, when you're sitting at your computer and you're like, "What was that?" and it's gonna bother you all night, and you're not gonna write a word because you're still trying to think about what it was. Write it down. It's worth the 5 seconds. It's worth it.
Yep. I'll tell you what one English teacher told me. You're going to write this line, and to you, it's going to be so perfect. And if you forget it, in your head, it's going to be so perfect. And when you write it, if you don't write it down, you're going to write an entire book, and you're just going to be like, the book would have been great. If it just had that line, I couldn't remember. So that's all you're going to remember, and he's not wrong. So I think as a comedian, since you need that much confidence, you should definitely write it down.
Absolutely. So you guys write books?
Yes.
Well, I've been writing a book for 8 years. I don't know how you finish it.
You know, that's what I would call my book. I want you to know that. I don't know how you finish it. That would be the title. I don't know how to finish it. And then literally write the whole book and be like, this is the end where I'm supposed to finish it. But I told y'all at the beginning, I didn't know how to finish it. Done.
My book is called Stand Up and Make It Happen.
Right.
It's nice. It's my philosophy on stand-up and joke writing and the business and teaching people how to write jokes. But God, I just get blocked in anxiety when I sit down to write. Does that happen to you guys?
So you just write it, okay? Because there's this beautiful thing called editing. But you can't edit what's not there. So write what you want to write. Might not make sense. But as long as you have it, you can go back and change it around. And when we get off of recording, y'all, we will show you how to write that first page.
Okay.
You have a class in that. I mean, just like, that's weird, right? I'm just like pitching on our show. That's terrible.
I don't think any of our audience knows that we actually have courses.
We actually teach stuff, y'all.
Because I mean, honestly, that's not funny when you teach. Unless you have your job, Lisa.
Yes,
it's funny when you teach. So what are some of the things that you immediately, when someone says, I think I'm funny enough to be a stand-up comic, what is the first thing you ask them to be like, well, maybe
the first thing I ask them for is money.
Sure.
They say, sign up for my class.
And why would someone sign up for your class then? So after you ask them for them, why?
Because they don't know where to start.
Right.
They have an instinct that they have a gift and a talent, and people have been telling them they're funny, but they have no idea. Or they take my class because it's all women and it's a safe, supportive environment, and you don't have to deal with the male comics that can be misogynistic and dirty and raunchy and not supportive. A lot of times, not all of them, but when you go to these open mics, a lot of guys are not very nice or welcoming to the women. So that's why I created this environment so girls could have each other, to a little posse to go out there with and face the world. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. No, that makes absolute sense. And I just wanted to put that in there because I want people to sign up for your class.
Now, we do have to ask this one question because, I mean, it's us. And we asked this question. While you were in the writer's room, were there craft services? And if so, what was on it? What was on it?
There's craft services when you do a commercial.
Yes.
And they're amazing. But craft services, no. Not so much. Sometimes there was bagels or donuts, but no, not on that show.
Wow. Oh,
Why
that
would
makes
you
you
I
made
now
me
want a donut.
sad on the inside because that is like one of our lifelong goals is to get crafty.
Yes. Yeah.
So we ask everyone, would you like to invite us just to eat? We won't say hi to anybody. We'll just stand there by the table and just keep eating all day. We promise.
Yeah, but you got to get on a movie set or a commercial.
Okay, a commercial then. Maybe I should try to get on a commercial set.
You guys have such great personalities. You could totally do commercials.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Hey, I love that vote of confidence.
I feel like it comes because it's from a comedian. I feel like she already has the confidence for us.
I know, right? So how do you get, and then another question, how do you get that confidence that you need to get up on stage and do what you have to do? And then the second question, because I'm going to be Winona today, I have a 2-part question. Where can people find out more about you?
How do you get the confidence to get on stage? Well, for me, when I first started, I was desperate. I needed an outlet to perform because I was an actress and I had all this stuff inside me. And I hated waiting for the phone to ring. I hated waiting for opportunities to come to me. So I was like, I'm doing this myself. I'm going to write and get on stage. And I just forced myself to get up there. And I was nervous and anxious and petrified. But you just do it. You do it if you want the results. There are no shortcuts with stand-up. You have to be on stage doing those open mics.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow. So that y'all learned another good tip. You have to do the open mics. You have to do it.
Nope.
And so
I'll never be a comedian.
You'll never be a comedian because you don't want to do the open mics.
Not unless it's a bar and I know everyone's tipsy.
Then maybe for you. But where can people find out more about you, more about your classes?
Well, I have a website. It's www.prettyfunnywomen.com.
I'm just never going to go over Pretty Funny. Well, that's great.
Prettyfunnywomen.com or at Pretty Funny Women on Instagram. I answer every email myself. So I teach Zoom classes and I teach in person. I'm in Los Angeles, in Sherman Oaks. I have a guest house in my backyard and I've converted it into a comedy club. So it has a stage and a mic and a curtain and everything.
Well, that sounds fabulous. Y'all take her class because it seems like you will learn so very much. And maybe even for our writers out here that need to be a little more funny in our books.
Definitely.
Because I definitely need to get that skill. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, this was so much fun. You guys are awesome.
Jay, would you like to wrap us up?
All right, absolutely. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andithoughladies.com. While you're there, take a minute, go to the middle of the page and see the charities that we probably support. Maybe support them also. We thank you in advance for that. And just remember, y'all, wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, thanks for listening.